Hey everybody, Syntax77 here, and today we're going to be taking a look at an ultra tiny USB rechargeable LED flashlight. This is the Olight i1R EOS super tiny flashlight. As you can see, I have it next to a quarter there. I think that kind of shows off the fact that it's quite tiny. This is probably the smallest flashlight that I have. Actually, by far it is, at least in terms of, well, what I would call a quote-unquote real flashlight. It's got a nice aluminum alloy material. It does go above 100 lumens, which is super cool. It actually goes up to 130 lumens, and it also has a low light mode at 5 lumens, which I find for backpacking. Now, this is more of a keychain light for most of you out there, I'm sure, but as a backpacker, I like to have really tiny light sources. More importantly, lightweight light sources, and this guy certainly fits the bill at around 12 grams, just under half an ounce, 0.4 ounces to be specific. With that 5 lumen amount, that's actually a number that I find around camp is a perfect amount of light for really low light situations where your eyes are adjusted anyway. It's going to run for a decent amount of time in any type of flashlight. 5 lumens isn't going to draw that much, and then it's going to provide enough light to get camp tasks done, chores, etc. So that's kind of my perspective for this review. But again, it is primarily kind of touted as a keychain light. So for those of you looking to have kind of a backup or just flashlight always with you, pop this on your keychain, you're good to go. Me, myself, I find it nice as a supplemental light source to have with me for virtually no weight. Or if you're a super hardcore ultralight backpacker, a gram weenie, if you will, hey, I'm not judging. Maybe you want to go all in and have something this small just as your primary light. In the case of this, I would say you could actually get away with that. It is rechargeable. We'll see how to do that in a minute. So you can keep it alive if you're already carrying, like most of us on the trail nowadays, some sort of small lipstick-sized USB recharger for your phone, etc. You can top it off with that. But the nice thing about this is the specs on this at 5 lumens, it's actually going to run for 7 hours, which if you're an ultralight backpacker, most of you guys are hiking all day, pretty close to nighttime anyway, and then you're setting up camp. You're not spending a ton of time out at camp. So even if you did a quick weekend at 2 nights, you'd have 3.5 hours of light per night without having to recharge this guy. For me, that's pretty much what I would be using it at, 5 lumens. In most of my testing, that's all I really put this up to as well. I've been carrying it for a couple weeks now for everyday carry, and I've also taken it out in Maine for a little camping trip with my wife recently. However, if you want to get a nice burst of higher light for identifying, say, trail markers or you lost something around camp, well, this guy will jump up to 130 lumens, which is pretty impressive. Years ago, my first pen light that I carried every day that was much larger than this and used AAA batteries was, I want to say, only like 150 lumens. So technology is certainly moving along, and here we are with this little tiny Olight here. Let me show you how it works. It's really simple. It's a twist design. There are no buttons on here at all. So all you're going to do is just twist until it comes on at 5 lumens, lighting up that quarter there, and going quite well. If I continue to twist, boom. Now we're doing 130 lumens out of this little guy. It's probably blowing out everything on the camera here, but look at that. That is a lot of light. Now, of course, there is a trade-off, right? At 130 lumens, you're going to get around 20 minutes of light because this is such a tiny battery in there. But that's actually pretty good considering the fact that, like I said, I don't typically want to use 130 lumens very often. If I'm planning on night hiking and being on the trail, I would bring a supplemental light source, most likely a headlamp on my head to really hunt down those trail markers and get my footing, etc. But as said before, for around camp, it's pretty rare you're going to go up to 130 lumens. You'll probably be blinding most of your friends if you're on a group trip, or if you're solo, you're probably just going to be at camp doing some chores with that 5 lumen mode. And you can see it's got some texturing on both sides there to give it a little more grip, which is nice considering how small this guy is. And if we continue to unscrew the cap, the lens end, if you will, the lens pops off right there, and underneath, standard micro USB port, and it does come with a nice little micro USB cable right there. Although any standard micro USB cable that you have, most of us have lying around, is going to work just fine. It just plugs right into it, like that right there. You let it sit on either a wall charger or your battery pack, like I said, and it will charge up in a little over an hour. Pop the end back on there with the lens, and it's good to go. It has a decent amount of play between the 5 lumen low mode and completely coming off, so you don't have to worry about that. You can unscrew it quite a bit and be confident that it won't come off while it's on your keychain, on your persons, etc. Now, for somebody going out there using this as their primary light source or even a secondary light source on the trail, it is so tiny that you're probably going to want to have it attached to something. At the very least, maybe a light piece of cord like this Zing-It here, that would at least improve the tactile and visual prominence, if you will, of this so you won't lose it, or you could just tie it right to something. Of course, I find it's so small you could actually just put it on a zipper pull on a backpack hip belt or right on your jacket zipper pull, etc. It's light enough at 12 grams that I don't think that's really going to bother you, and you're always going to have it with you as that emergency light source, or again, if you're hardcore, primary light source. Another nice thing about this, it is, like I said, what I consider still to be a real flashlight. You can get some tiny little junky flashlights out there, but this is a nice aluminum frame, all aluminum alloy, so it can take some hits, some drops, etc. And it's also rated IPX8, which means it can definitely handle splashes, heavy rain, etc. And beyond that, at IPX8, it's actually able to be submerged. Going through some stream crossings, etc. You leave this in your pocket, you wade through some water, it's not going to be a problem at all. Got a nice little reflector on it, if you can see that there. It gives it a nice kind of soft spread, and it still does, according to the stats, have a 54-meter throw on high and a 13-meter throw on low. In my experience, it actually does reach out a lot further than you'd expect, but for around camp, particularly in that 5 lumen mode, it does have a nice kind of wide throw, a lot wider than you would expect for such a tiny light. So you can sit it on a rock somewhere and light up your camp area while you're cooking, doing chores, etc. And I find that pretty convenient. So if you're somebody out there looking for a lighting alternative that is super light, super small, and rechargeable with decent power and runtime capabilities, I would definitely give this a suggestion to check out. And let me know in the comments section below. Would you carry a light this small? Do you have a need for that? Is this excessively small? Do you think it's super cool? I don't know. You let me know. I'm always interested to get some good conversation going down there. That pretty much covers it. It's super tiny, super simple, and effective, so there's not a whole lot much else to say. That's about it. The Olight i1R EOS ultra tiny, ultra light lighting system. It's also quite inexpensive too because, again, it is so small. As usual, there's an Amazon link in the video description, although honestly, I have found, now prices change all the time, but right now it's actually an even better price directly from Olight, well under 20 bucks, actually closer to 15. So those links are in that video description down there. Till next time, I'm Syntex77, and you have fun out there.